Hey, AfterBuzzers, you're tuned in to the Ray Donovan After Show. Join us as we break down the episode and give you our thoughts and predictions. Let's go.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
What made you choose this one?
Because I'm just feeling the song right now.
This is just your jam today?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Just loving it. I love these catchy
I don't
pop
hate
songs.
it.
Good call, Frank.
Thank you very much. And hope you Donna fans like the song out there too. Welcome on in. It's good to be back. It's season 4, episode 6, Fish and Bird, the Ray Donovan After Show. I am your lead host, everybody. I'm Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank M. I'm joined by two of the best looking girls in the business. First of all, to my left, it's McCall Hall. McCall, where can people find you on social media?
They can find me jamming and dancing to all of Frank's picks on social media when sports and pop culture collide at McCall Hall.
And right next to her is Olivia Gabaree.
Hi guys, you all can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @thereal_O_G.
Awesome. So we're all set. The table set for a great episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to use the hashtag out on social media, ABTV Ray Donovan. We will start to read your social media comments next week and be more consistent about that to make sure that your voices are heard. But we had a great episode this week. McCall, you were saying just before we came on the air, you're exhausted. Tell me what about this episode just brought you?
Honestly, I need a drink. I need a drink. Whatever Ray was drinking on, I need one of those too. It just so many topics got hit on tonight, from religion to motherhood to death. I'm tired. I'm tired.
Well, it was an emotional roller coaster for this episode, and when I was watching it just before we came in tonight, I was watching on Showtime Anytime, so the slider on the bottom was going as to how much time was left in the episode. And every time I thought the ending had come, it was like, nope, there's 20 more minutes. Nope, there's 10 more minutes. Olivia, what was your reaction just off the top?
I mean, I just feel like I can't believe they packed that much emotion into one episode. It's like every storyline they had going on, they hit it hard, you know?
Absolutely. And
it's kind of like it was like, how can it get any worse or more complex?
And then it does.
That's why we love this show. And I want to start at the end, which was Belikov getting busted in the head and Ray taking him out, which was a total shock to me. And I can remember in the early seasons of the show being shocked by certain action points. So this one really took me by surprise. How did you guys feel when Belikov got shot?
Well, it startled me. I wasn't ready for that.
McCall was like,
it was a little too graphic. I had to turn away. But no, I was shocked because in my mind, it seems like now Ray has opened up a whole nother can of worms. Somebody else is going to be after him.
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
That's the big thing, there's going to be some repercussions coming, don't you think, Olivia?
Yeah, as soon as it happened, I was so scared for him. I was like, as if, because I was a little bit skeptical at the fact that Belikov was even cool with him to begin with. I was like, there's no way he's just gonna let him go, but now another one down, he has definitely gotten himself into some trouble.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It seemed like a tenuous piece between the two, but when Ray shows up and the call girl was dead in bed, who had been playing Cat's Cradle, it was just a bridge too far for Ray. I think, he finally got to the point where he just was not going to stand and let an evil man be out in the world while his dad is going to prison for him instead. So you're right. There were like so many things in play, that built up to this moment. And what was especially chilling about that was that Ray told him, "Look at me," and made sure that Belikov looked him in the eyes before he pulled the trigger.
That's a real OG move.
Not my type of OG.
That's a different kind of OG, but you gotta look at him before you kill him. Yeah, you know what? And that's a great point that you made about Ray feeling for Mickey. And Mickey technically didn't do anything. Well, not this time, but you know what I mean? Not saying that he hasn't done stuff, but the fact that he has to face that punishment for this guy, and he's a creep. Ugh. I mean, I understand. Part of me thinks it was induced by the alcohol, though.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And you're right. There is a big evolution in the relationship between Ray and Mickey this episode. I mean, remember in the first couple seasons, Ray was going to kill him in front of his children.
Yeah.
And we've come so far now where they're having a jailhouse conversation, and Ray had to fight off the tears there.
They both did.
Yeah.
And that just really shows how far their relationship has come. And it even got me kind of choked up a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, I did too. They hate each other. Ray hates Mickey a lot more than Mickey hates Ray, but, you know, rightfully so. But I thought, you know, great credit to Liev Schreiber to fight off crying. Like, it's sometimes it's easier to cry than to hold the emotion in so that you don't cry.
Oh, for sure.
And there's nothing like, and we can speak for the ladies, but when a man cries, OG, you know, when a man cries, it just really hits you in the throat.
Because guys are not supposed to cry, you know, so you're supposed to hold it in, you're supposed to be the tough guy. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It hit me, you know, it hit me especially hard seeing him do
But you got to think about that scene. You've got Ray on the phone with his father in jail. He's looking at his family sitting there. His daughter, who has been creeping with a teacher, is now in their living room singing a beautiful song, beautiful voice. Just a lot going on. And you've been drinking.
Yeah.
I would have been on the floor.
Yeah. By the way,
He almost was.
Can we all agree we're glad that teacher storyline is over with? I'm done with that.
Agreed.
That's good. But you know, you made mention before, like, as ladies, you see this from, you know, a female perspective in this show. And one of the big things I wanted to talk about this episode was, you know, a lot of issues of motherhood, of cancer, how it affects women of this show. What sort of new dimension has that added for you this season as opposed to last season's? You know, seeing Abby struggle, you know, her going through it, and Sonia Kavitsky in this episode had obviously a really big scene. And let me intro this a little bit more because I have a really good article that I read on vulture.com. And I'll give you guys some time to think about my my fastball question I gave you.
Good looking out.
Yeah, of course. So there was this article by Bruce Fretz on vulture.com. And in case you didn't know, Embeth Davids is actually a cancer survivor. She was, and she plays Sonia Kavitsky for our listeners. She was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer in 2013. So she underwent chemotherapy, immunological treatment, lymph node removal surgery, and a double mastectomy.
So that her scar was real, yeah?
So her scar was, well, you read further in this episode, and I'm just going to paraphrase, and the makeup team enhanced the scar that she had, and she was actually in the middle of multiple procedures to restore that right breast of hers. So the scar was not that bad. It was just a white line, but what she says is in this interview is that they were really going for the shock factor when she reveals, you know, first her normal breast and then the one that had been operated on. So she was between operations, and her next one was to repair her nipple to give her a more normal look. So it's just so fascinating that this actor had been through that. And you know, just your reaction to that news that I just sprung on you guys.
Well, I feel like it's a theme with this show that they cast people that have a connection to their storyline, their character, right? Like when we had Pooch, he's actually from Boston. When we had Dominique, he's actually a boxer. You know, she actually has cancer. I wonder if that's a part of the casting process.
I know, that's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like there's such a connection to the characters.
This one wasn't about the casting, but to your point, it was actually part of the production. And I really recommend this article to anybody out there. It's on vulture.com, and it's the title of it's Ray Donovan's Embeth Davids opens up about fighting breast cancer and her complicated nude scene. And the way that it was pitched to her was that she was going to be sort of an evil character, but that her and Ray would have a romantic endeavor at some point. And so midway through the season, Embeth went up to the producers and said, hey, by the way, you know, I think this would be really good. And she actually pitched the idea for, you know, the mastectomy scene and having, you know, that be a part of the character. So it's just, I thought it was a perfect confluence of events to have, you know, an actor who has been through the real thing, to add to the realness of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about just the evolution of womanhood, right?
Yeah.
In this show, cancer, especially breast cancer, everybody knows somebody who has breast cancer, right? And I feel like them, you know, really incorporating that into the storyline helps to humanize these people a little bit more and make them very relatable. You start thinking about somebody that you actually know in real life who's like Abby or even like Sonia. I mean, it helps to humanize them and soften them a little bit.
Yeah, Olivia?
I do see that. Also, I just think that this whole breast cancer scenario makes Abby's character like a lot more a lot more stronger than she had been, you know, seen as in the past. At first, she was kind of just the wife, like, not necessarily weak, but, you know, she had to put up with a lot, and it wasn't really her story. It was Ray's story, and she was just, you know, Ray's world, and she's just living in it. But now this tragic, this tragic event, like, that kind of gave her character her own, like, storyline and her own, people feel for her a lot more probably now than ever.
Yeah, and she's become, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, she's become an equal partner to Ray.
Yes.
They're discussing the goings-on of Ray's work, which was not done before, and you're absolutely right. I felt like the first couple of seasons she was constantly calling Ray, being like, "Where are you? What are you doing, Ray?" Like, constantly asking, and it's like, why don't they be partners? And I think it's far more interesting if she knows what's going on. You know, and it's like you're saying, I mean, she's an equal part of the team, and I kind of like when she's on board and knows what's going on.
Right.
Here's my question about the breast cancer, Sonia versus Abby. Sonia said that there's turtle, rabbit, bird.
Right.
She said she was a bird. Okay,
Right.
so hers is way more advanced. What would Abby be considered?
This is one of the big complaints that I've had about the show so far this season, is that stage 0 breast cancer, which is what Abby had been diagnosed with, it has a very high survival rate, 93%. I mean, oftentimes it's not even treated as a cancerous diagnosis, but as something to wait and see and address later. So that's been my real big logic problem with her sort of storyline, as to, you know, as juxtaposed with, as you're very right, Abby versus you know, Sonia. Sonia had, the actor we know, had stage 2 cancer and stage 3 cancer in 2013. So there is this completely different side of it, where you have someone who's going into cancer, which is Abby, and someone who's been past it.
Right.
In real life. Now the character, the cancer's come back, and she's going to die too. I was a little bit disappointed that Ray hooked up with her.
You know, I didn't think I thought it was kind of obvious he didn't want to. Did you feel the same or what?
He kind of always gets caught up in these bigger moments, you know.
Right.
The planetarium imagery is going, she's narrating it. I'm like, this is a little bit overwrought.
Yeah, for sure.
But he tends to get caught up in those moments.
I know he didn't even push her away, but it's like, could he? I mean, I guess he could have, but I feel like the experience was so intense that it's just like,
Yeah.
It was kind of hot.
It was a brilliant, seductive setup. But did you feel, let me ask you guys, did you feel that there was a chemistry and an attraction between them before that scene?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, not to say that you guys weren't looking at the foreshadowing here, but the second she said she was a pimp and he called her a pimp, and you know, I said, she's got an ulterior motive with him. You know what I mean?
Did.
Like,
Okay, you saw that.
I picked up on the fact that she was feeling him. She's always trying to get into his mind. See, women, again, we don't just look at your body. We're trying to figure out your mind, because we want to seduce you. And the second she started preying on his mind, I said, she wants him.
this one.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, I did see it coming. Not just because Ray seems to hook up with every woman he does business with, but I don't know. I knew she was about it, and especially after she asked him to be her security,
Right.
aka her date.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a shock to me. So you guys are seeing things that I'm not seeing, but
It's just a girl thing.
that's why we have you.
And at the charity event, it's not like she introduced Ray. He had to introduce himself. If she wanted to set the tone and say, "This is my security guard," so nobody, has questions, she could have said that. She never said that.
That's a great point.
She left the window open for people to, gossip.
Yes.
To assume otherwise.
They're already thinking we're doing it.
Exactly.
Might as well.
Might as well.
And speaking of that scene, we saw one of Ray's former flames, which was Ashley, and Feldman was there too. Feldman is one of my favorite foils. I mean, he's just
so crazy.
such an idiot, and like, you love to hate him. I love to hate that character. The whole setup of this episode with Ashley wanting to put a sex tape out and being offended that her pictures weren't out there felt about 2 years too late, but I was happy to see the two characters. I like them both, and Ashley was a big part of season 1 and was Ray's kind of first cheater type of girl that we experienced. Did you guys enjoy seeing those characters tonight?
I did. With her husband. Okay, so Ashley's husband, Feldman.
Yeah.
I feel like Ray feels for women, and he tries to protect them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like because he used to have a fling with Ashley, why did he not want to leak the pictures?
Yeah.
That just I didn't have that answer for me. Like, do you guys have an idea about why he just didn't want to leak the photos? Is that because he didn't want to hurt her? Or,
what do you
I
think,
guess
Olivia?
I feel like because it's just kind of like, I don't know. That is interesting because he could have thought it was hurting her, but she didn't think it was hurting her.
But she's young.
Yeah.
She's an
And
actress.
her husband didn't think it was hurting her, which was very not bizarre for him, but bizarre for anyone who's a husband. But
he's proud
to
to
each
be a
his own,
couple.
I suppose.
Anybody who's reasonable,
Yeah,
does not want to watch their wife get screwed by another guy and then videotape it and get it out on the internet. I think that was kind of like a comedic relief type of scene. It came off a little bit weird, just to see that happening and have Ray meet a big strong guy completely naked. He's
Can I
like,
just
how
say,
you doing?
in this episode, we saw a range of private parts.
a lot of frontals.
That's
a
true.
lot of frontals.
A lot of full frontals in this episode.
No shade to the guy in the jail scene.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I guess it was cold. I guess it was cold.
Get
And
that
then
sound.
and then to see this other young man with Ashley, I'm like, oh, okay. Clearly there's a difference.
Yeah, there was old men sitting on toilets
Not
in the
that I
jail
wanted
cell.
you to notice that.
It's okay.
Not that
Listen,
Another thing a girl picks up on.
That's okay. I had erased that from my mind, but I'm glad you brought it back in for the brief second that it's going to be there, and then I'm going to forget it all over again. I'm just teasing, but you're right. But the jail scenes with Mickey, as much as I have hated him in the past, and I've really hated him as a character in a good way. I love Jon Voight. I love the actor. He plays this character so perfectly. But I felt bad for him this episode, and it was the first time I felt that way about him. How'd you guys feel about Mickey this episode?
I've been feeling for Mickey lately.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on Mickey's team these days. I don't know. He means well. He does mess a lot of things up, but he means well. And especially how he just took the heat for this whole entire situation. And if I always am trying to see it from his perspective, it's very likely that he will probably get killed or something will happen to him in jail,
Yeah.
No one gets off that easy, especially in that situation. So all the things, especially during that phone call, he's like, I've really been thinking about life lately, and his granddaughter's getting christened, so many things are happening on the outside, and he is just helpless sitting in a cell.
It's so remarkable to hear you say that, because in previous seasons we've seen Mickey completely screw over Daryl, completely screw over Ray. He's put his family in so many bad positions, and yet here we are, and I feel the same way as you do.
It's
We're
weird.
talking about Mickey, I kind of like him, but I think it's a credit to Jon Voight for growing the character to something that is, you kind of feel for him a bit. McCall, do you feel the same way?
Every time he talks to Ray, he asks about his family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's growth. That's definitely growth. You just start getting old. But remember in the last episode, Mickey said fatherhood is a riddle?
Yeah.
I think he's starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to figure it out.
That's amazing, and it really is one of the more interesting plots that we have for the season. And when he comes on screen, I'm genuinely excited to see what's going to happen now, as opposed to the past. I'm like, oh, here he is again. What scam is he doing? What he's trying to pull? But I think as this season is now half over and we're starting to get kind of the full picture of what we are going to expect for the rest of the way, it's that Mickey's arc is he's out of scams. He's out of other options. It's time to put up or shut up, and he's putting up, surprisingly.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So let me take a quick time out to thank all of our listeners quickly and remind you to please subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. Leave us a review, feedback. We're going to go through our comments. I'm commenting out there on YouTube. I know you guys have been as well. And use that hashtag ABTV Ray Donovan out there on Twitter, and we will read your comments next week. Let's go back to Abby and her struggles this episode. She's elected to go the early menopause route instead of having surgery. where do you guys come down on this? Do you come down on, she's making the right decision and electing for early menopause, or should she just bite the bullet and have the surgery and move on from there?
I guess I'm trying to figure out, is chemo just out of the question? Why is it one extreme or the other? Which, again, logistically, production-wise, only they can answer why they're not, positioning that. But from my experience and understanding cancer, can't you try chemo first and radiation?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't even guess.
I think it's like more of a precautionary type thing because it is stage 0.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be it, and maybe... I'm not sure. Maybe chemo just isn't an option yet at this point.
Well, I'll be honest. We've been having a heat wave here in Southern California, and, they say menopause makes you hot. And I've been telling my friends, I said, I feel like I'm going through menopause right now. So if this is what menopause feels like, I just rather them cut off my breasts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am kind of getting frustrated with Abby. Don't you, like, when she and Ray were sitting on the couch, she's like, just get the damn surgery.
Yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't understand why she's gonna put herself through all of this, I mean, it's not that, I'm not gonna dumb it down and act like it's so easy to, do that, such an extreme change to your body, but, I mean... She spoke to the other doctor who went through the same exact thing, and the other, the surgeries afterward that can help you, and at least you're alive at that point, at least it's no longer there.
Yeah. So. You know what, this is just my kind of guess about Abby in this whole situation, and it really became more prevalent during this episode. So the idea of her cutting off her breasts, I mean, that's a part of your womanhood, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think for her, it's like, this is who I am. I am a woman without, probably in her mind, my breast, I'm diminished. My value, even to her husband, is almost diminished. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to see that child try to latch onto her, little Maria, trying to latch onto her breast. Yeah. Could you imagine if she actually went through with that and she's got this little kid around trying to latch onto her breast, that reminder that I can't even nurture life, that would eat at me a little bit as a woman. So I get why she's not, but I just don't think I could handle being hot and menopausal.
Yeah. And the fact that she may go through all of that trouble with the menopause thing and it might not even 100% work.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I love both of your perspectives right there. That was really, really valuable stuff. So really great things you say. I'm not really qualified to discuss it, but I do agree with both of you. I think ultimately in life, when a doctor tells you to do something, you should probably do it. I mean, they're out there to help you and to make you live longer. And but you're right though, McCall. Like, there's other things at play. There's a woman's sense of self and the way she thinks about herself too, and that's clearly playing on Abby, despite her stage 0. I'm putting that aside right now. I'm assuming that it's more severe than that. So yeah, it's clearly something that is much more large as a part of the show. And normally this is a very testosterone, male-driven show, a lot of action, a lot of killing and violence. So I thought it's sort of nice to go in a different direction this season and bring in our female characters a whole lot more. Yeah. That's sort of my take on it from this side.
So, because I've watched plenty of episodes of Ray Donovan, but I'm missing this. Historically, Abby knows about Ray's, other encounters with women.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, she eventually finds out.
Yeah.
And that's why I think she doesn't want to have her breasts removed, because she's probably thinking, now he really doesn't have a reaon to remain faithful to me.
And you actually reminded me of another scene tonight that I kind of went like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. So, Abby says, I don't want to hear about it. And Ray turns to her and is going to be honest.
I could not. I think that moment right there seriously says so much about how far their relationship has come. Yeah. The fact that he really felt guilty enough to, admit and share to her what happened. That was mind-blowing to me. But the fact that, she must have had a feeling or something, and she's like, keep it to yourself.
But could you imagine if Ray told her? That, I think
it's enough to even just be like, the woman that I work, like, you basically told her, the words just didn't come out of your mouth. Yeah. She knew it was coming.
And we don't know if they had sex or they just made out. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Either way. But this woman has the same condition that you have. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would even eat at me as, if I were Abby, that would eat at me knowing that Ray stepped out with a woman. She's got cancer too. I've got
Wait a second. As you are saying that, do you think he was going to tell her that the woman I work with has breast cancer as well? Or that the woman I work with and I hooked up tonight?
I think he was going to say, I hooked up with a cancer patient like you.
Okay. So both.
I think he was really going to drop the bomb.
I see. I thought he was going to say what you were going to say, that he just hooked up with another woman. And he was
But
gonna tell
as
her
you
with
say,
that.
like the whole cancer thing, maybe he was going to try to persuade her into...
Right.
Yeah.
I felt her breast. It still had tissue.
Oh my God.
My mind went there. I was like, he's going to try to convince her that sex will be the same because I just did it with Sonia.
No!
I'm telling you, my mind went there. My mind went everywhere this episode.
That is awful.
It's awfully wonderful as far as I'm concerned.
Guys, don't judge me. I'm trying to understand.
So I felt another boob tonight. Like, that is awful.
Just so you know, after you get surgery, it's going to be all good.
Yes.
I went for a test run tonight, and we all set. No,
God forgive me.
no, it's so funny. No, it's really funny. But I did like that moment because Abby doesn't even want to hear it. She I think now they've come to a place in their relationship where she doesn't want to lose what they have together. There was a big long opening sequence tonight, scenes from last week of their relationship and them looking at each other when they're drunk and they're reconnecting and they, have sex at the beginning of the episode. And I just don't think she wanted to risk that with... And Ray was clearly broken up about it. And he has not been broken up about his, hooking up with Paige from last season, Ashley from, some time ago. There have been other women too. This one really got to him and it drove him to drink and he got drunk. And then, he tried to give, and this is my next topic I want to get into, he tried to give Bunchy his rosary that his abusive priest gave to him.
Yeah.
That was really, really strange. Yeah.
Like I said, whatever
so
was in
weird.
his cup was strong.
Well, yeah, I think a lot was playing on his mind there and how he's trying to let go of the past. That's how I took it. Like, he's holding on to his rosary and he wants to get rid of it somehow. And in his warped sense of honor in that moment, I think he's trying to pass it along. But Bunchy instantly realizes it, and Bunchy's becoming sort of the heart of the show. He says what he's feeling right away. There's really no disguising it. And I really empathize with Bunchy. He's kind of...
Wouldn't you say Bunchy is becoming the moral compass of the show?
Yeah, I'm saying that, he's doing the right things and he's calling people out when they're doing the wrong things and he doesn't hold back anymore. He goes after what he wants. He went after Teresa, tried to get her back and said, he takes some verbal abuse but just says, you know what, you're tired. It's okay. It's okay. And, I just think he's the character that we sympathize with the most.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so he's... I don't know what Ray was thinking in that moment, but I think, and he had the rosary in the car as he was driving with Belikov. I think that was kind of the final goodbye with that. And then, of course, he leaves it, in the only proper burial that he knows how to do, which is taking one of the dead call girl and drops her on the road outside of a morgue. That was a rough way to end the episode, I think.
Really rough way.
And especially when we get to know this girl and she's learning English and she's watching 2.5 Men's and we start to feel for her a little bit. What did you see out of Ray at the end there? Are we going to see a better Ray moving forward, or I really feel like he broke away from the wrongness that he had been going through before and now finally wants to turn the corner.
I think it's because Bridget's back home and acting like she has good sense.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, come on.
I know.
But, as a father, when your little girl is out just not paying attention to what you're trying to instill in her, but now she's back home and you're starting to become that hero figure to her again.
Yeah.
He's starting to feel that twinge of fatherhood especially to a little girl. And that's why I think he felt so hard for that young lady tonight.
Yeah.
Because he probably started seeing Bridget and her.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it made him mad.
Yeah.
Because he just got done looking at his daughter playing that beautiful song.
Yeah.
And it's like, he feels for young women right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's pulling at his heartstrings.
Right. Well, women are just becoming, as you said, like, they have such a large play in Ray Donovan now, because we have Abby's plot line. We also have, you know, Bridget's, how she's been getting into some things, and now Sonia as well, and now this girl popped up quite a few times in this episode, so I knew eventually something was going to happen with her. But that being said, I do think Ray's gonna make an effort to be a better person, like morally, but emotionally I don't, you know, he's not in a good place, and I don't see him becoming a better person in that way. He's probably going to be struggling.
Yeah, he's not somebody to emulate.
No.
But his son seems intent on emulating him, and this is the final topic before we'll go into predictions. Dumb Connor, my least favorite character, and I like to rip on him.
Damn
I
nerve.
cannot
He's
stand
getting
him.
on my nerve.
Cannot
He's
stand
getting
him.
on my nerve. He's gonna rub off on Damon.
Yeah.
And Damon's a good kid.
I'm going to make a prediction that is mostly hope at the end of the episode, but it kind of has to do with this and Connor. The worst dialogue of the scene was of this episode was it's Calabasas, more like Calabasas.
Oh, so cheesy.
You're funny. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, Connor.
That was so bad. And he's like, what else you got? Oh, I got my dad's gun. Let's go shoot some bouncy houses. Like, what are you thinking, man? I mean, that right there, that's a felony. That is a felony. You can go away for 20 years for doing that.
Is Connor what you would call a tool?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. A tool, a douchebag.
Okay.
You know, just kind of a wimpy loser.
Yeah.
Puberty is rough for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
Because you're a guy.
Yeah.
Like, we've been tapping into women's lives.
Girls go first for puberty, right? And then guys come after.
Like, when you were Connor's age,
Yeah.
did you just want to shoot things and jack off to pornos and
Video
okay,
games.
never mind. You don't have to stuff.
Careful. No, I'm teasing. No, I mean, not to that level. I think what is trying to be accomplished here is that we are, you know, a son idolizes his dad, and that's true no matter what. If your dad's the worst guy, if he's the best guy, a son wants to be like his father. And what's true about what I saw in tonight's episode is that Ray is so caught up in his own stuff and his own desire to drink that he doesn't even notice Connor running up and grabbing a bottle off the table and hightailing it up to the bedroom.
Right in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, they hid it in the jacket or whatever, but it was the most obvious attempt ever that you would think a more attentive parent would catch. But, you know, obviously he didn't. They went and got drunk and shot up a bouncy house.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a problem that Ray is going to have to fix, or Connor's going to jail.
Right. Well, and I think, you know, since Ray has a lot going on, Abby has a lot going on as well.
Yeah.
Connor's kind of slipping under the radar. They're not really even noticing that he's becoming such a troublemaker. He's going through all of this.
Yeah.
But it definitely will be a problem in the future, just because the guy. So was that the guy that he beat up his son, or what? Who was that guy? He goes, "I saw you, Donovan," or whatever.
Just a neighbor.
Oh, it was just a random neighbor. I didn't
yeah.
know if it was someone like specific that he targeted, but I mean, obviously it's going to become a problem. He knew exactly who it was.
Mm-hmm.
He could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
There could have been. I mean, my little nephew has a bouncy house. He goes in there day or night. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There could have been kids in there.
Yeah. It was awful and just totally stupid, but it's going to launch into the second half of the season in a much more Connor specific way. The neighbor saw him, so I really think this is going to be something that's going to require a lot of focus from both parents. You know, we're going to see a lot more of Connor, unfortunately, I think. No, he just swears so much and it drives me insane.
His attitude is just, I don't know, the way he talks is just, I mean, he's a good actor because I can't stand his character.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to hate him.
Yeah.
I really think
How
we are.
could you not? I'm sorry, but, you know.
He's getting on my nerves.
And, you know, I was kind of thinking of that you know, in an alternate world, if I could have it my way, and this is not to insult any of the creative team at all. I mean, this is a great show, and we love watching it and covering it. But how cool would it be to see like a quiet, stoic Connor who's just like learning by watching his dad and like sort of quietly going about, you know, being like him instead of watching 80s pornos with girls who are shooting guns with their tops off. It's like, okay, I kind of get it, right? Like, I just feel like with all the chaos and the darkness around him, I would have loved to see it internalized more in the character instead of him just like being like, yeah, bullshit, man. My dad's got a gun, you know, that kind of thing.
I think it's just a lot to ask. I just think that's probably what boys would do if they were in that situation.
Yeah. I
don't know if the average teenage boy would be able to block out all of this chaos that's going on around him and violence and all these, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I don't know if he'd be able to tune that out. I think it's just a realistic, you know, approach to his character.
Okay. Olivia, you feel different?
I don't know. I do feel like it's a very extreme realistic approach, but, you know, the story wouldn't be as interesting if he wasn't a little bit crazy, so.
That's true. Well, we've got a lot to look forward to with Connor and hopefully Dominique. Obviously, they seem to be becoming friends, so friend of the show, Dominique Columbus. Okay, well, let's move into our final segment, as we always like to call it, which is our predictions for what's to come for the rest of the season. Need the drop.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
I love the lights. This is great around Halloween, let me tell you. So predictions, Olivia, you're going to lead us off. You could be for next episode or the rest of the season. Remember, we're halfway through now, 6 episodes in, so we got 6 to go. What do you see coming?
Okay, I see a lot of trouble in Ray's future with this Belikov murder. Something is gonna pop off. Someone's gonna find something out. So that, I think that's gonna be a huge point. And I also see Damon and Connor going in some sort of direction together. So something's gonna happen with them. So those are my 2 main predictions.
Let me ask you a direct question. What's gonna happen to Connor next week?
Oh my gosh, he's gonna catch a beating. He needs to catch a beating.
Okay.
No, he's just gonna, you know, he's just gotta grow up, you know, and I think Ray's gonna probably give it to him, so.
McCall, what do you think about Connor next week?
Well, to kind of piggyback off of OG here, I feel like Damon and Connor are gonna get tight, right?
Yeah.
I think Connor's gonna do something stupid, and it's gonna jeopardize Damon, and Damon's gonna have to take the fall for it.
You know something?
Hasn't it already been done, though? I mean, the gunshot is kind of it, right?
Yeah.
So you think Damon's going to take the fall for it?
I think Damon's gonna end up getting screwed by this bromance that they have going, right?
Wow, yeah.
So something's telling me that Connor's going to end up getting off and Damon's going to have to take the fall for something that happens. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The other thing I would like to predict and bring up is Teresa's character.
Okay.
They finally acknowledged that she has postpartum depression during this episode. Because I didn't know. They wouldn't say, like, what is her problem, right? They finally talk about the postpartum. I think it's going to wear off and she's going to try to come back, and then Bunchy's going to be like, you haven't been around. I don't need you.
Okay.
I think he's going to realize, because Bunchy doesn't think that he's smart enough or has the ability to be a good parent. He's always asking other people to help him. I think he's going to figure out that he is strong enough to handle single parenthood.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell Teresa to take her ass on back to Bakersfield.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen.
I like that.
I hope that he does that.
I hope he tells her ass, take your ass back to Bakersfield. We are fine without you.
He is standing up for himself more.
Yeah,
he did this episode, told Ray to go pound sand with his, rosary. Didn't want that piece of that relic of his past on him. So I think that's a really good prediction.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to that.
I think Teresa's going to end up getting written out of the show because Bunchy doesn't need her.
Speaking of written out, we haven't heard from Hector or Marisol a couple episodes.
Well,
haven't seen
last
them.
episode, was it last episode he kind of came by quickly?
Yeah,
or was
they had
that
a
the
little
one
gym,
before?
with Daryl, and they were working out in the gym a little bit, but that has seemed to have gone to the wayside.
Well, if you think about it, with the boxer, well, I don't know. They only have how many matches a year? He might just be taking some time off.
That is true.
I feel like it serves a purpose, though. They wouldn't give them such a big storyline if it didn't come in somewhere. Like, there's no way that just disappears.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more for Hector and Marisol going for. I don't think we're done with them yet. There's some loose ends that need to be tied up, and and Hector will be back. So I'm going to make a couple predictions. I think that a couple people are going to die before the end of this season. First of all, Sonia Kavitsky, I think will die. And not through her cancer. I think it'll be through a different way. Obviously, the Russians are going to be coming for Ray now, but she feels for him, obviously has some sort of emotional connection for him. They've slept together now, so I think she will ultimately be caught up in some sort of violent episode and is going to be killed before the end of this show.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I really believe that she has a chance to die in this episode, and I think Connor is going to end up in jail at some point. Whether that's next episode, I don't know. I didn't watch the previews for next week, so I'm totally guessing. But I think he's not listening, and he's too dumb, and he's not figuring things out. And I think even if you guys are right and Ray has a talk with him and tries to calm him down, I don't think it's going to matter. I think he's going to continue down this path. He wants to be tough, but he's not.
Oh, I just had a vision.
Okay.
Connor's going to kill Sonia.
What?
Wow. You heard it here first.
What?
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
Because Connor's gonna find out about Abby's cancer, and then Connor's gonna catch Ray creeping around with Sonia. He's gonna kill that woman.
Bing! Wow! If that comes to pass,
prediction.
if that comes to pass, we're gonna pop the champagne in here.
Honestly, we will. I'll bring it for you.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're in charge of that.
You're in charge of the Mo.
The Mo Imperial, please. Thank you very much. Any other predictions, guys, before we close out? None.
Don't think
okay,
so.
Cool. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in this week. We are here on our new time, 10 p.m. every Monday night. You can listen to us live on YouTube or stream us on iTunes afterwards. We'll be back next week, but until then, we have been Olivia Gabaree.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @thereal_O_G.
And Olivia McCall Hall.
Olivia McCall. We're all here. We're all
McCall
family.
I'm sorry.
When sports and pop culture collide, find me on social media at McCall Hall.
And I'm McCall Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank Cam. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. It's been such a pleasure. We'll see you next week. Go out and be blessed. We'll see you back soon.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.